We've been hearing about animal welfare standards across Europe and standards of food that is imported from outside of Europe, and that perhaps sometimes we import food that doesn't adhere to the same standards that we want to produce ourselves. How do we get over this seeming sort of inequity of welfare?
The key thing is that healthy animals are more profitable, so it's in farmers' best interest to make sure that their health and welfare standards are absolutely of the highest level. And in the UK and in Scotland, we're fortunately in a very good place there. Particularly in Scotland, we've got some real advantages. A lot of farmers are involved in health schemes. Most guys are involved in quality assurance schemes. We've just received official TB-free status, which I know is a real challenge in other parts of the UK, but official TB-free status in Scotland. We have made a very good job of combating the threat of blue tongue with a Scottish compulsory vaccination programme, to which farmers indeed took up that, but 95% of people were involved in that, so it was excellent. We're currently looking at BVD eradication, bovine viral diarrhoea, which in itself as a disease contributes some 3% to our emissions. So by improving the health status of the herd, we're also ticking the climate change box. But you touch very correctly on the question of a non-level playing field. We've seen it in the UK with the sow and tether stalls ban in the pig industry. We're seeing it now with the laying hens cage directive coming in 2012. And again, the UK, quite rightly you could argue, moves ahead of the game, improving welfare when that suggestion is put to it. But if we have this situation where product can come in either from other EU member states or more commonly from countries out with the EU competing on our markets, and the supermarkets turn a blind eye to that and are very happy in most cases to stock these other products, then from the consumer's point of view, the ends are defeated. And from a farmer's point of view, our costs are higher and our ability to compete is substantially undermined.
And related to that issue is on animal cloning, where there are countries around the world that use it widely, use the technology and export products to the UK and Europe. Yet there are quite stringent rules in the UK in particular, which mean that we're not selling products from the offspring of cloned animals to our own consumers.
The UK rules are absurd on cloning, and I think it's only a matter of time, hopefully a very short time, weeks rather than years, before that regulation is changed. I don't have a strong view either way on cloning. I think we need to make sure our debates are led by science and understanding rather than emotion and ignorance. But on the cloning one in the UK, it's about interpretation of the law. The EU has a law which I think is reasonably sensible on cloning, yet the UK has interpreted it in a completely absurd way that's effectively making criminals out of farmers, retailers, processors, and the poor beleaguered consumer has no idea what is going on.
You mentioned there might be a change in law or in opinion in weeks. Is this something that you've been speaking to the Commissioner about? Is something actually going to happen on this?
Well, this is a UK issue, actually, the cloning one that I'm looking to see changed. The EU has got rules defining what can happen with clones and offspring. The UK's interpretation of offspring is the problem. They have said offspring means no matter how far down the family tree you go, if there's a clone anywhere in the family history, that's the offspring of a clone. That's absolute nuts. Nobody is tracing these animals anywhere in the world. Any meat or dairy products coming into the UK from any third country, even from European countries, cannot guarantee to comply with that law. If they've been produced or bred from semen from a bull that's got a clone anywhere in its history, it doesn't comply with the UK law. It complies with the EU rules, which are reasonably sensible, does not comply with the absurdity of the FSA's interpretation of this EU law.
And from your discussions with the FSA, do you think there's going to be a change?
There has to be a change. I mean, we have been talking to the FSA about this, and I don't want to ramp any more pressure on them, but the law needs to be altered, and rapidly.